Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Cancer. If Cancer is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. And so, Cancer, tonight we have the Hanged Man. One of my absolute favorite cards to get. And this is because it is a sign of something to be kind of discarded, right? To give something up, to come to the realization that something that is not of service in our lives must be sacrificed. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what these tea leaves have to say. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next reading is coming out. It is free to subscribe. All right. Cancer season right around the corner. Coming up quick. This year is just flying by, I have to say. I know we all say the same thing. But it does feel like it, doesn't it? It really, I just can't believe it. Okay, so I want to start here. We have, it looks like, I'm going to go ahead and say the devil archetype. We have, it looks like a kind of, well, at first I was seeing it as a goat-headed being in a robe, holding maybe like a flame in their hand. But I also see the goat on the chest. You can see right here. Okay, so also Capricorn. So definitely kind of that devil card, devil archetype. Over here we also have, it looks like a person sitting, and we have the crescent moon. So we have that lunar energy. We have another person sitting here. These look a lot like hieroglyphs, right? In the seated position. And I kind of, I look at these and they make me think of maybe somebody who is in a mode of education, of kind of taking in information. And if you watched my readings, I have kind of, I have a pretty positive take on the devil archetype, I must say. I don't see it and say, no. No, I see the devil archetype as kind of the agent of change. Sometimes the agent of chaos, right? But often the energy that has to come into the picture to kind of pull people away from their beliefs, their dogmatic kinds of constraints, and just shifting their worldview, shifting their concepts of life, and often too just pulling you out of your routine, which it doesn't seem like something that, and here comes Titi, she's very vocal. It doesn't seem like something that is so important necessarily, but poor TT, she wants in these readings so bad. I'm not letting her in the studio yet. I have been trying to acclimate her to the room, but she gets in here and she's like a wild thing. She's just knocking stuff over. It's also novel to her because I leave the door shut for most of the day when I'm not working. And so I'm sorry. I know some of you really want to see her and I want to let her in, but it's just hard to focus when she's knocking things over. So anyhow, yes, this energy and getting out of your routine, right? So there is, we don't necessarily think of our routine as something that we are completely devoted to, right? But if you really do think about, if you are somebody anyways that keeps a routine, and you're a Cancer, so yeah, I imagine you have at least a general kind of routine or flow to your day, probably something that is actually more cultivated. You know, as Cancers are kind of creatures of, you know, the things that feel comfortable, that they recognize, right? You want to know what you're doing and when you're doing it, at least to the degree that, like, I have this time blocked off and then I'm going to do whatever I want, or, you know. But if you think about your routine and you think, okay, so I'm not devoted to exactly the way that my routine goes. I'm pretty flexible. Well, go ahead and imagine, you know, doing things the opposite way, out of nowhere, right? All of a sudden you're working, maybe you go to work in the morning and you come home, you know, 4 or 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and do the things that you do. Well, if you flip that suddenly, right, and you're going to work in the evening and home throughout the day, yeah, it sounds good, but, you know, it would take time to acclimate to, you know, and we've all changed shifts in our life, and we know it can be pretty stressful, especially if you have other responsibilities, okay? So when the devil energy comes in, this is not necessarily the energy of, oh, I'm going to take a wrecking ball to your life. No, not necessarily, but this is the energy that is going to kind of pull away the veil, right? To let you see that what I assume life must be is only what I have decided it must be, right? There are many other ways to live. There are many adjustments I can make. There are many other choices I can make along my path that will absolutely change the way that I feel. You know, one of the most basic, I think, examples of this is when you are in the house, right? And maybe you have children. Maybe you have a partner, a spouse, a roommate, or maybe you live with your parents, you know, I don't know. And you get into a little bit of a disagreement, or somebody's in a bad mood, and, you know, the energy is not necessarily terrible, but it's not great, right? Especially with the kids. And I'm thinking of this, I have a toddler. She gets loud, she gets ornery, she gets bossy. She wants her things the way she wants them. She's like her mom, you know, and instead of letting myself always, like, just be in that, and she's ramping up, I feel like I'm ramping up, my anxiety's getting, you know, worse, and I'm feeling overwhelmed, and it feels like everything is, you know, I have sensory issues, so the sensory part, it just, well, instead of feeling like this is what life is, right? This is exactly what I knew it was going to be, dang it, and this is it. You know, I make sure she's safe. I make sure the stairs are closed and she can't get down or near them. You know, I go on the back porch there. I can see her through the window, and I get some fresh air. You know, if there's a little bit of sunshine, I take in some sunshine. I listen to the birds. I close my eyes for a moment. I, you know, do my breathing, and does it always work? Not necessarily, but oftentimes it gets me out of thinking like, this is all there is. In this moment, it's so overwhelming. Life is overwhelming. Life is terrible. It's always going to be like this. I'm never going to have any peace in my life. You know, these things that it feels like that sometimes, right? And all you need to do, now this, I'm not saying this will always fix everything, but change some aspect of the situation. Change the environment. Go take a cool shower. Go take a warm shower. Go for a walk. Go outside. Breathe. You know, whatever it is. So my point is, this energy is, it does. It's kind of this like, okay, now I'm realizing I am the architect of my own life. What will I do with that? Now I have the courage to change something. Not only the courage, I'm motivated. I'm absolutely, you know, there's a fire lit under me and I'm ready to go, you know, and I do. There is the fire here in the hand, right? Illuminating, but also passion, 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 passion. So I feel that this is a time in your life where there are some changes happening and you are actively participating in them. This is intentional. This isn't like this is just happening to me. You know, everything is changing so quickly, and I have, you know, no way of controlling it. No, this is something that you want to happen, or you have put into motion. So, you know, and I think that we can safely say that sometimes Cancer people, even with the best intentions, under really awesome circumstances, can get overwhelmed, right? When things start to move too quickly. So I feel like it's a good time to make a plan, okay? Roughly. Make a plan about what is your goals. What do you think you need to do to get to those, you know, to meet those goals? But also, realistically, what are you willing to do? What are you not willing to put up with? What are you willing to, you know, spend your time in? Because this is a big, you know, this is a big deal. We just here, you know, shout out to Dove and Serpentaro, my husband over there, Paul. We just had a big move, right? We moved our house, we moved our studios, our business, our child, and everything else, still during the school year. So that was maybe now I really do see why people move a lot during the summer. But you know, the reality of you know, good intentions and the reality of what are we actually willing to do? What am I willing to be in charge of and actually get done, right? The two separate things. I have good and I want to do all these things. I have a lot of dreams about what I want to happen and what it's going to look like and whatever. But the reality is, what are we going to actually do? Okay. And sometimes we have to be real honest with ourselves about that, because then we get in our own way and then we start to get to feeling pretty crummy when we are, you know, things aren't happening. So, you know, I think that this is a time where, yeah, there's a need to be kind of brutally honest. Okay. But also, yeah, enjoy this energy, enjoy these changes. This is a time where a lot of learning is happening. I'm seeing that you are, I mean, just even studying yourself, studying your spiritual path. Not only that, implementing the things that you're learning into your life. Okay? And that is so important. So often we can spend a lot of time, you know, studying and reading the books and posting the you know, quotes online and the pictures and the, you know, whatever, going to these gatherings and wearing the clothes that make people, you know, quite aware. Yeah, I'm a magical person. I you know, whatever. But so often the actual work isn't even being done, right? And that's not, I'm not, you know, there's no judgment. I'm fully guilty of this. Yes, there have been times definitely in my life, fully guilty of it. But this energy coming in, yeah, there's a lot of shifting things, and it feels pretty wild, you know, it does. But I'm excited for you because this is where things are going to get done, and get done maybe quicker than usual, right? Not just this really slow glacial movement, right? Things are happening. They're happening right now, you know? Okay, so let's keep going. We started with that lovely formation. Oh, and so we do have the goddess up here. Okay, so we have the goddess up here, and I'm seeing this as, yeah, fertility. I don't always love the goddesses, especially the arcane or primordial goddesses, always being these vessels of fertility. But in this case, I see that this is a time that is very fruitful for your creating. I feel just a sense of almost like something just, I don't know, like being ripped away, right? Not taken, but it's like something that had been stagnating, maybe your creative process, or going in a circle, just like in a loop, an obsession or fixation, or just being very distracted. And it's like a quick jolt of something, right? A quick jolt. And there's this energy. It is also quite maternal, comfortable and caring and loving, and no, not all love and light. Yeah, it's very earthy and you know, damp and dirty and vicious in some ways, as the mother can be, right? There is a balance, though. There is a balance, and there's an honesty about how fragile things can be, right? And we know this about the world. And I know we talk about gardening a lot here, or plants and animals. If you have ever gardened, if you've ever even, you know, had a succulent, or you know, planted flowers, or been given a living flower pot, right? And trying to take care of it, you know, sometimes it's just like let it sit, and you give it a little light, you give it a little water, and everybody's good. But it can be quite tricky, right? And sometimes things just, you can't figure out, why is this not working? What am I doing wrong? Well, that's the reality of life. Sometimes things are just that shifting and fragile, and everything in its own time, right? So I feel that there is this beautiful wholeness. It feels holistic. It feels, you know, supple and warm and inviting, as I said. But, you know, there's also this need for care, this need to look for the details here and be consistent, okay? And also flexible to the shifting needs of this creative endeavor, okay? And so, it feels like this is one of the big things that will happen this year. I feel like this is like maybe your big project of the year. Now, it maybe is that you are an artist, maybe not. Maybe you are somebody who's doing, you know, I don't know, like home improvements, you're starting a business, you're changing aspects of your business. You know, and also, let me just say, I'll just say this real quick, is I put up a post in the community section. If you have a business, if you have a channel, if you have anything that you want to promote, go over there and advertise it. You can see it clearly. It's at the top. You can put your link in there and maybe, you know, a little explanation of what you do, and just stick it on there. Both my husband and I, again, Dove and Serpent Tarot, Paul over there, we both like to put these posts up because we want to support the community. You support us by spending your time with us, and we want to support you in your endeavors. I'm a firm believer there's enough for everybody to eat, isn't there? So we're not going to, you know, be in competition with everybody and kind of, you know, hoard the space. I want to make a space so that, you know, we can all flourish. And I think that's really important, definitely. So we also have, it looks like a person holding a bird. Okay, so we have a messenger. We also have, it looks like, I'm going to say it's the Ace of Cups. We also have, well, it looks like a wolf. The Ace of Cups also looks like a wolf right here. The head, the nose, and the body over here, you can see. We also have a bee. Okay, so the most sacred bee, which I love to see that show up. So we have the person holding the bird. So the bird is the message or messenger. So we know that there's a message to be shared. We have the person here holding, and to me, it really has the energy of the magician. And so I feel that, you know, through this work that you're doing, and also just the way that you are constructing your life, and I feel like this really is kind of a paradigm change for you in general. This is part of that kind of arc in your life. There's a sense of finding your voice, okay? Finding something that's really meaningful for you to share with others. Now, it could be that you are somebody you're an artist, you make things on the side, or maybe it's your primary work. Maybe you are a fan and you partake in a lot of art or music or, you know, whatever. But I do feel like, it's just this, it's like a time where it's almost like you've hit this wall at some point where it's like, I've been living this life, I've been doing all the things that I'm supposed to do. It's, you know, it's not been necessarily bad. Maybe, you know, you've had some amount of success, but it's just not like the authentic life that you have wanted to live. You're just kind of going through the motions, right? And so you hit this wall, you decide, okay, I'm going to implement, or I'm going to seek out maybe, and implement something that is meaningful to me. And now this may be that you are a magician. Maybe you are a practicer of magic. Maybe you are a religious person, a healer, you know, a magi of some kind. Maybe you are a mystic or a philosopher, or maybe you're just, you know, like me, a regular old person, you know, that kind of stumbled into what they're doing. Whatever it is, I think that you really have something, and you also have the ability to really draw on these kind of deep unconscious wells of kind of, like divine knowledge, right? And part of this is learned, I think. I think that you definitely have read some things and maybe studied some practitioners or religious orders or, you know, philosophers or whatever it is. But a lot of this just comes to you through your experience. It also comes to you through revelation. You have dreams, And I know that you have dreams because all Cancers have dreams. Now, do you recall your dreams? I'm not sure about that, but they seep into you. That is for sure. And the information comes up and it comes up, and finally it gets to a place where you're either going to carry this around with you, and you know, I don't know. It kind of, does it start spilling out? Or you're gonna do something with it. You're gonna put it to use. Okay, and so here we are with that. Now, we also have the Ace of Cups. Okay, so this is, yeah, that real emotional, passionate, intuitive, your ability to tune into those waters, right? The sacred waters. This is where we get our information. I like to think of it as like the ocean of the unconscious, where all those abstract things kind of live. And we can go in there, we can go swimming in it, we can go fishing in it, we can stick our hand in and pull something out. But you definitely have access to it. You are also a vessel of this information. And so, you know, this is quite a responsibility. Now we have the wolf, okay? Here's the thing. We have to be so very mindful of where we let this lead us. When we are in a position of being able to tune into spirit to this degree, when we have something to say, and people start listening, right? And people start taking notice. Maybe it's a few people, maybe it's a lot of people, who knows? But you must be mindful about where it leads your ego, okay? You just can't imagine. You can't imagine how much it can change you to have a little bit of attention. And you have to be so careful about that. Now for a Cancer, I think it's even something that can make you resent having this stuff go on. For people to seek you out, for people to feel as though they can come too close to you, or that they have some access to you that you have not allowed, right? They just assume because they, you know, maybe listen to you or read your things, or they know your art, or whatever it is. And that could lead you to kind of really withdraw from life, at least public life, right? On the other hand, I think that, you know, and we see this all the time, it can really distort your thinking. You live in kind of a narcissistic fantasy, right? And though I don't think Cancer is necessarily as prone to this, it's important to keep yourself humble. Keep yourself grounded, right? And so that, I think, is just, it is a little bit of a, okay, be careful what you do with it, okay? Now, we also have the bumblebee. So that is really one of my favorite signs to see. And that is because it is the bearer of the most sacred honey, for one. But also just a lovely sense of diligence and being devoted to the work. Really having such a belovedness to what you're doing. If you've ever watched bees, last summer I spent so many of my days outside in the garden watching the bees. Now, not just one kind of bee, there's so many kinds of bees, and I never realized that they kind of have different times of the day that they come out. You know, in the morning we would have the smaller honeybees, and then we would have bumblebees coming a little later. We'd have a lot of the solitary bees coming around in the later morning into the afternoon. There were all kinds of pollinators in the later hours of the day. Some of the other bees would come back, but it's almost like they just had different shifts, right? And you would just see them, you know. Anyways, I imagine, maybe this is me projecting, but just really enjoying themselves, because they really do. They get in there, they get messy, they're moving around. The bumblebees especially, they get in there and they spin around, and they get all of the stuff all over them, and it's funny to watch. And sometimes they even fall asleep, right? They just kind of lay there and they regain their strength. And so I see this, and it's just, to me, it is one that is so devoted to the way. Can be singularly minded at times, but that's okay, because it's the work you want to do. And so I do. I feel like there's a sense of love and peace and sacredness here. A time where life feels very meaningful. Life feels meaningful, and you're not going to let anything get in the way of wherever you're going with it. Now, we have a 6 and a 6, and these are interesting because they are symmetrical. And to me, seeing these two numbers together, the 6 and the 6, I absolutely feel that there is such a grounding here. This is a number of below ascension. This is a number of kind of being in that earthly place. And so we have it reflected. And this, to me, just really, it tells me that there's a purpose to being able to filter this higher knowledge, this, higher thinking, these kind of spiritual emanations down through your being, and kind of disseminating it throughout your life, your physical world, and living a life that is quite magical. Okay, that's not to say, I'm not telling you to go out and preach or, be like a missionary or anything like that. That's not what I mean. What I mean is to add magic into life, to add spirit into life. Now, spirit's everywhere, but to consciously engage spirit and to project spirit. Okay, and that is such a beautiful, beautiful thing, and a beautiful task. Now, I wanted to look at this before we're done. We have a 2. I didn't see any letters or numbers earlier, but now I'm looking. We have a 2 right here. And we have, it looks like 43. I'm going to go with 43. So 4 and 3. And also, it looks like we have a C. It almost looks like CC. And we have EP up here. EP. CC, EP. So if any of those letters or numbers... Oops, I went the wrong way. Backwards. I'm going to blame the solar flares because they are wild right now. I feel so... I just feel between solar flares, we've had sickness in the house, getting over that slowly, and just, I don't know, the change of weather, I suppose. It's gotten pretty warm. I just feel like discombobulated. Everything is just, woo! So, let's go ahead and look at the Wild Offering Oracle cards. All right. These are really pretty cards. I think I'm finally kind of used to how big they are. We were using those little ones for a few months even, I think. And now we're on to these bigger ones. So I'm going to go ahead and stop where it feels right. And it says travel. Nice. Let every aspect of this trip unfold in harmony. May divine order arrange and handle every detail. All be guided easily and follow the leads as they are shown. That sounds nice. Just following the synchronicities to wherever they take you. All right. Cancer, I'm going to tell you I love you because I do. I absolutely do. And I thank you so much for spending this time with me. It's always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. And if you would be so kind as to like the video, it really does help the channel. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. And if you'd like to leave a comment, please do. Also, go over to that post and check out the cool things people are doing. Go check out some of their channels. Go subscribe. Show each other some love. Yeah. All right. I love you. Take care of yourself. We'll talk in a few days. Good night.